To call to order the County Board of Commissioner meeting for Monday, January 23rd, 2023 at 2 p.m. And we'll start with our invocation, and Commissioner Wood will deliver that for us.
Let us pray. Precious Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us a safe trip here. Thank you for letting us live in this beautiful county. Watch over, guide us, and give us strength and help us make smart and common sense decisions. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda, and I think we need to make one amendment to the agenda to remove item G under discussion, the National Opioid Settlement Authorization, until we do a little bit more background work on that. So can I have a motion with that one amendment?
I make a motion we approve the agenda with that amendment.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda, and I would note that Commissioner Mendenhall is with us today on the phone. He's home doing some health care issues, but he is here with us and will be participating in the meeting. The next item on our agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody signed up? Okay, no one signed up for public comments. Okay, the next item on our agenda is comments by the manager and commissioners, and I'll start with Commissioner Cox.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody here today and thank you for coming out on a Monday at 2 o'clock to see what we're up to up here, or for whatever reason you're here for. We're glad to have you and the ones watching online, and I think that's all I have. We've got this meeting, and then then we are all going to the Board of Education meeting tonight, so you're welcome to come there too. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Wood?
Great crowd. Thanks for coming out. We should have sold tickets today. I want to thank Mayor Nellie Brown and her staff for putting together a great meeting Thursday night with Danbury and King and the commissioners. It was well done.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Mendenhall, do you have comments?
Mr. Chairman, all I'd like to say is welcome to everyone that is present at the meeting in Danbury, and also to everyone watching on YouTube. Welcome to them, and I hope they have a good week. And that's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Mendenhall. Commissioner Chandler?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to, first of all, welcome everybody here. It's good to see a nice audience in the crowd, and to all the people that are on YouTube watching us and staying involved in our county politics. That's great. What I'd like to talk just a minute about is, I think most of you know by now with me that, I really have public safety at heart, especially police officers in this situation. I just want to make aware that there's a benefit dinner for David Boise. He's a retired sergeant, or he didn't really get to retire, but he had to leave due to a medical issue. David Boise was a sergeant. He was an excellent leader, and even better yet, he's a better person, family person. Even though he had to leave the police department due to a medical disability, he still just didn't want to stay at home and collect a check, or I guess really take pity. So what he did, he went to work for Walmart. And then about a couple months later, he was involved in a very serious, this is in November 2022, was involved in a serious head-on collision, suffered 21 fractured bones, nerve damage, led to some strokes, was ventilated for 15 days. He's been in rehab, and he just got out recently, within the past couple months. He's going to need 24/7 care due to the injuries from the accidents. And the one thing about our community, they know that if they need the police, they need the sheriff, they need fire, they need EMS, you call 911, they're coming. And what I'm asking you is just, you can show your support in one or two ways or both ways. First thing, please give the family and him prayer. And if you do so desire, please support this benefit in any way you can. It's going to be at the King Community Center on White Road, and it's from 5 to 8 on February 18th, a Saturday. But another thing I like so much about this community is we have businesses, small businesses that stand up and they show out when it matters. So I also want to recognize Little Italy in King. They're donating all the food, and all the proceeds will go to support David and his family. He's going to need constant care probably for the rest of his life. So please, whatever you can do, prayer and any kind of support will be greatly appreciated. It will mean the world to him and his family, and mean the world to me too. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chandler. I would like to recognize Shannon, and then I'll talk.
Welcome to everybody here. It's nice to see such a big crowd here. And I don't want to steal Matt's thunder, but just a quick congratulations to the individual that you're here to recognize for being Telecommunicator of the Year, Lindsay Elliott, and thanks for all that you do. And that's a really hard job that nobody really knows all the details of, but big responsibility. Look forward to the library update and hearing what they're all up to. Nice to have them here in the room as well. And as always, if you need anything from our staff, from Amber or I, never hesitate to reach out. We're always here to help you or answer any questions you may have.
Yep. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody, especially the big crowd in the room here, and hopefully we have some folks online as well participating in our meeting today. I noticed as I came in downstairs, there's a board down there advertising an event this weekend at Forsyth Tech at our local campus from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and it's on agritourism. So it says it's free, but you do have to register. So if anybody's interested in that, you might, as long as they're not full, you might want to participate in that event. Okay, the next item on our agenda is conflicts of interest. Before moving further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda today, or one that could be perceived as a conflict of interest? No for everybody? Okay, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. Can I get a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have one question before I do it. On the last budget amendment, Lisa, the one that was for Matt's office down there, 911, is about $45,000, I think, or something. Is that a routine update? He's here, so I know he can answer if you need him to. But is that a routine? It looked like it was mostly for equipment. I just wonder if it was a routine replacement or if some kind of emergency or what. Matt, you can address it if you like.
That's correct. The bigger one of the UPS batteries is a 5-year. They have a 5-year end of life cycle. So that came up this year to be done. And also part of that was a maintenance contract for that UPS. It's a major UPS battery backup back there. It runs a lot of stuff in that building, not just us. There's some sheriff's office stuff tied to it also. But it had come to the time where those batteries were on kind of a critical level.
Okay.
And those, so it's all redundancy. So when you get to that point, we've lost building power and generator power. It's just a kind of a redundant.
So it's a fairly routine thing.
Right,
It just happened to come up in the middle of the
Correct.
budget year.
Correct.
Okay, good. That's all my only question. Okay, can I get a motion to approve then? We got that in a second already? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the information agenda, and Matt, I guess, will be back up for that to recognize the telecommunicator of the year.
Good afternoon. I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I wanted to recognize the 2022 Telecommunicator of the Year. This award was presented to this employee last month at our department Christmas breakfast. We do every year right before we go on our Christmas break. We have a breakfast and everybody gets together as a group. And part of that is presenting an award. This award was it was done in the past, but for whatever reason prior to me coming here, it had taken a couple years off, so it was important for me to kind of get it going back. So like I said, it was presented last month at our Christmas breakfast, but I thought it was also important to recognize the employee in front of the commissioners. This employee received several nominations from her peers. They expressed her positive attitude, her teamwork abilities, her excellent customer service, and her compassion for others. She has been a full-time employee with Stokes County since November of 2001, but prior to that, she had spent several years as a part-time employee. Lindsay, if you'd like to come up, she's got several members of her family have come today also. And I will read the award. It says, the 2022 Telecommunicator of the Year presented to Lindsay Elliott for your outstanding service and dedication to emergency communications and to the citizens of Stokes County.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You do a picture?
Picture now, so she, yeah, and then we can,
You want us to come down there?
you want to just stand here and I'll put her, she can stand.
Where do you want to be?
It don't matter.
We'll let Rick and Brad slide that way just a tiny bit so I can see that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Would you guys like to make any comments about this? Mr. Chandler, please.
Yes, real quickly, thank you so much, and especially your family. You're the backbone of public safety in this county, and I know firsthand what it's like to be the first person to get that call and go through with it, the emergency police protocols or fire or police. Thank you. It's not an easy task. And I also want to understand, I guess everyone to understand that if you have a strong family behind you, it makes it bearable. Appreciate it.
Mr. Cox.
Yeah, as a mother of a law enforcement officer, I really understand and appreciate everything that goes into that job and how important it is, and also having to have called before and be the one making that call is really important to have somebody that's able to stay calm, because usually the people calling are not calm. And we just appreciate you and the job you do and your family support, and just you're an integral part of that over there, that whole 911 thing. We just really appreciate you.
Yeah, I thank you for your service. I appreciate everything you do. I've only been there once. I visited a few months ago, and I can't imagine being in a dark room for most of the time. Anyway, thank you very much.
Mr. Mendenhall, do you have a comment?
Yes, I just want to say congratulations and a special thanks to all of our people that works in any way through first response, 911, taking the calls. So like Commissioner Cox said, most people, when they make that phone call, they're not calm at the time because it's usually a very difficult situation. And the people we have working over there, they have the capability to remain calm during a crucial situation and help us out. I've experienced it personally 2 or 3 times myself, And just want to say a special thank you and congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendenhall. I would just add, I really appreciate you guys all coming, the family showing up here today to recognize this. It's really important. I've found that area when I got here as county manager several years ago is one of the most interesting departments that we have in the county. I used to go down there and actually observe them fairly frequently. It's a very hard job, and it's a job a lot of people just can't do. So just to be able to do that job says a lot, but then to be the best one of the group says even more. So you have to work these crazy hours and be in a dark room, and it's just a challenging job, but a critically important job. So thanks again. Congratulations. All right, our next item on the agenda, I think Joan's here to update us on the Northwestern Regional Library.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you all. It's
Good
a
to see
very
you.
hard act to follow, and thank you again for all that work. I'm sure it's not for everybody.
Just wanted to hand these out to you real quickly. We know you have a busy agenda and we'll take up too much of your time.
Thank you.
But it's very nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Mr. Wood and Mr. Chandler. Okay, Mr. Morris, very nice to meet you. Hello. Good to see you.
Got some folks with us today. These are, of course, our branch managers. You probably know Gretchen Parker from King, and Christine Bowles from the Mount Cove Library, and then Lisa Lawless from Danbury, and Amy, who is the bookmobile driver. So they're just going to say a few words to you all today, and really it's the fun part. I just want to give you some information and background here. We appreciate your support, your continued support over the many years for our libraries. You have 3 very, very fine libraries in Stokes County, and again, largely because of the dedication and support of you all, the community, and these fine people right here. If you don't know, and I don't, Mr. Chandler, Mr. Wood, if you're familiar, Stokes County is a member of the Northwestern Regional Library. That's a regional library system. There are 12 in the state, and they're mainly in rural areas. And the others are Allegheny, Surrey, and Yadkin. So there are 13 member libraries altogether. The headquarters office is in Elkin. There's some state aid that comes in there to push out services to all 4 counties and 13 libraries. And there's a little information in this brochure. We tried to boil it down. I don't know if it's a good summary or not. You tell us, but you can see the 4 counties on the front. And if you just open it, we all know libraries, of course, are about books and reading, and always will be. And literacy, it's just part of it. But we all know libraries are changing so much, just like education, newspapers, everything in the world is changing right now. So we've listed on that first page, too, just some of the other things that go on in the libraries, including job labs and job searching, test proctoring, a lot of copying and faxing and scanning these days. We all need to do that. And sometimes there are not a lot of alternatives for people to go to. There are book clubs and all sorts of programs, of course, for children. We're getting into maker spaces, and you probably are familiar some with maker spaces tied to STEM and STEAM curriculum with the schools. And voter registration, all 3 of the Stokes County libraries were voting sites this year, and I think it went really well thanks to the great Stokes County staff and the work of the staff here. We also have an annual quiz bowl every year, and we're having Stokes Early College and South Stokes and West Stokes competing too, so we're really glad to be able to provide a lot of these services. We have a lot of virtual services now, just like everything else. And on the left-hand side of the little brochure there, you can see some of them listed. NC Live is a wonderful database through the state of North Carolina, available to everyone in the state. It's really millions of dollars of databases on every topic, from students to government people to consumers to car mechanics. There's just something there for everybody. Of course, it's reliable information. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at it yet. If not, please come by or just Google it, just nclive.org or come by the libraries. Be glad to show that to you. We have a lot of ebooks and e-audiobooks online too. They're very, very popular. We have Ancestry.com. That's a database for genealogists. That there are a lot in this county for sure, being an old county. And of course, the summer learning program every summer is a very big part of what the libraries do to keep learning going on throughout the school year and try to not have that summer lag that goes along with students sometimes when they're out in the summer. In the middle section, these are statistics that go into the state library every year. And these are figures from all 4 counties, but the numbers for Stokes County pretty much are reflected here. They're not that different. We looked at them. As you can see, we had a lot of increases last year. After, of course, libraries were, and everything was pretty closed up for a couple years. People are certainly coming back in force, just like they are to parks and so many other things. The library visits were up 32%. The e-resources, electronic resources were up 32%. The programs, we're so glad people are starting to come back in, up 69%. And the attendance was up, the total attendance was up quite a bit too, 90%. Wi-Fi usage was up and public computers was up too. So we were really glad to see people coming back and the usage of libraries increasing and of course changing in ways after COVID because a lot more people were online and we certainly support both. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, these are just a couple updates from last year. We did receive some grants. One was the Emergency Connectivity Fund grant. It's a federal grant, and we were able to purchase some hotspots and some Chromebooks to be checked out for people because we know that not everybody has those things. There's a digital divide that we're all very aware of people who have things and people who don't, and by having the hotspots, people can connect, especially students, but anybody can check them out. They're being used heavily. We've had been funded for 2 rounds with that grant, the federal grant, and we hope maybe a third. We want to continue keeping that going. We also want to thank you. Last 22-23, this last fiscal year, Stokes County did fund the salary study for all employees and all the Stokes County Library employees. The study was done 4 years ago, and it was phased in over 3 years. And we cannot thank the Stokes County Commissioners and all of you enough for funding that increase to get those salaries up to comparable salaries for comparable counties for comparable jobs. So thank you all so much. You all were the leaders. Everywhere we went, we said, well, Stokes County has done this, so thank you all so much. Now, and the little section behind there, I know there's a lot crammed on this paper, it says funding. And this is just an overview of the funding. Of course, you all, Stokes County funds these 3 libraries in the bookmobile with their operating expenses, as well as the City of King and the town of Walnut Cove and Danbury, as well as contributions. The regional headquarters in Elkin that kind of provides a lot of behind-the-scenes kinds of services is funded through state aid to public libraries. It comes from the General Assembly. And again, we provide services. And again, the regional systems have been around for over 60 years. They seem to work pretty well. Bottom line is they save everybody a lot of money. So we're glad to do that, and we hope that the services are certainly satisfactory. But that gives you a little bit of idea. And just on the back there, very back, you can see our regional board. We are considered a unit of local government, not state, not county, although the libraries, of course, are funded mainly by the county here, by Stokes County. And these are the people who serve on the regional governing board. The 2 from Stokes County are Sabrina Gatewood from King and Patrick Simmons from up this way. So that is kind of a flyover of our system. If you have any questions, please, please, please don't hesitate to get in touch with any of us. It's really wonderful to continue to work with all of you, and it's looking forward to working with you, Mr. Wood and Mr. Chandler. And Mr. Wood, I've got Woods in my ancestors, and I bet somehow there's some connection in North Carolina. My mother's maiden name was Wood. And in fact, had some connections this part of the state. So very nice to meet you. Please let us know. Now, this is the fun part, because this is where the rubber meets the road and the fun stuff. So thank you for listening. Of course, now my mouth gets dry, excuse me.
My name is Gretchen Parker, and I am the branch manager at the King Public Library, and it's nice to see y'all during daylight hours. I do try to come every month just to listen to what's going on and kind of keep my ear to the ground. Very quickly, I do just want to let you know that we do have a ton of programming going on at our branch. Most of it is for younger children, but we have stuff for all ages. So any day that you come by, there's probably going to be something going on either in the morning or that evening. We have preschool story time and Wednesday Wobblers. We partnered with Parks and Rec to do outside story time over at Recreation Acres for the kids to come and play on the playground and listen to stories at the same time. We do, like Jen said, we have book clubs. We've got 2 for the adults and 1 for the teens, where they read the book and then they watch the movie and they have to discuss the differences. That's been a lot of fun. We really enjoy partnering with things like Parks and Rec and the Senior Center. They have started their own book clubs, and I do what I can to pull in all the copies that they need so that people aren't having to purchase something for a one-time use. We did host early voting in King, and I think that was one of our highest numbers that we've had there for an early voting session. It was 4,882. I believe Rick was there for that and saw a lot of people coming and going. I was very honored to be invited by Paula Hall at the Senior Center to teach some of the seniors how to utilize ebooks. So I showed them how they could purchase if they wanted to, or how to utilize our digital collection, and as well as Appalachians, because we do partner with them for our ebooks. We provide a constant space for, let me make sure I put it in the right order, Stokes Friends of Youth, for the teens that need to come and get a couple of community service hours in. And our highest or most exciting update is that several of us have been gaining playaways and launchpads. So playaways are little audiobooks that are self-contained on one unit. You can put your headphones in or listen to through your car speakers. So you can multitask like we're all doing a lot of times these days. And the launchpads are educational program tablets for children that can learn things without having to be connected to any sort of internet. And lastly, I just kind of I was nervous, obviously, curious, of how many new card holders we got in 1 year. So I looked at the numbers from December 2021 to December 2022, and between our 3 branches, we have gained 1,064 new card holders. And I expect with all the good work you guys are doing in our areas and communities growing so much that's going to build by leaps and bounds. So thank you for all of your support, and I really appreciate everything. You guys are welcome to come to any of my board meetings. Just let me know. I'd love to have you there. And I'm going to pass this on to Christine. Thank you so much.
All right, hello. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
I just want to say thank you so much for everyone attending our municipal dinner at Walnut Cove on Thursday night. It's great to see all y'all again. Commissioner Mendenhall, we wish you could have been there and wish you could be here with us today. We certainly do miss you. Yes.
Thank you.
And I have just a couple of handouts to pass out to y'all because I'll just say ditto to everything that Ms. Gretchen said too. Everything that we have going on in our libraries right now. Walnut Cove is growing by leaps and bounds, as you all know, with all of our community development that we have coming on. And I just wanted to quickly highlight some of the things we're doing here. The very first flyer you'll see there, we try and do a monthly contest of some kind just to be able to really encourage reading. And so for the month of February, we are going to do book bingo. Our gift prize will be a $100 Walmart gift card for our adults. We've not announced that yet, so because we still have to get the card, and then we're going to do a $25 gift card for our kids. So that's going to be our little contest this month. But the thing I really want to highlight the most is that second flyer there, the Coffee for Veterans. It is my understanding we have approximately 4,000 veterans in this county. And we are trying to do as much as we can at Walnut Cove to help them. We have anywhere from 20 to 25 veterans come in every Thursday morning. And we fix coffee for them. We try and have some form of little breakfast. And I know there are several veterans here in our room. And we'd certainly love to invite you to that. It's a very good time for everyone just to come and meet and talk to each other and just enjoy being together. I've heard some wonderful and amazing stories from some of our veterans. But other things I just want to highlight. One thing about it, Walnut Cove, like I said, is growing by leaps and bounds. Just in the past year, we have added 4 book clubs, 3 for adults and 1 for our teenagers. We now have a homeschool co-op program at the library that meets once a week. In fact, this morning they had their science fair that I was able to judge. We had 8 very good projects that were added, so we are very happy about that. But we are happy to be here. We're happy to serve our communities. We're thankful that we are able to be a true community center to not just Walnut Cove, but our whole county. But I would just like to say thank you for everything that you all do for us. We are greatly appreciative of it and look forward to continuing a wonderful partnership in this county. So thank y'all for all that you do for us. And that's all, unless you have any questions. All right, thank you. I'll turn it over to our Danbury staff.
Hey y'all, I'm Lisa Lawless, and I work just down the hill at Danbury Library. We do everything the other libraries do. The only difference is we have a history room in our library where all the genealogical information is stored. We even have a digital microfilm machine. You can pop in a Danbury Reporter from 1929 and read it. I mean, I just like looking at the ads. It's really interesting. But the other thing that makes Stokes County Library so special is our bookmobile. I've had so many people call and say, will you please come? But they're outside of Stokes, and so, we go everywhere within Stokes. It's just based at Danbury. And this is Amy. She's our bookmobile driver. She's our personality of the group. But everybody loves her, and I'll let her say a couple of things about the bookmobile.
So, as y'all know, I drive the bookmobile. I bring the library to the people that can't really get to the library, like the nursing homes, daycares, senior citizens places, and that's it. And I just love my job. My job loves me. But I really do just deal with the elderly and the little ones. And like if somebody don't know how to get on the internet, I try to teach them how to get on the internet, because a lot of people, they just still like to read. So that's it, and thank y'all for all y'all provide us with. All right.
Okay, do you guys have questions?
I just want to thank them for putting up with us at early voting, because y'all had to hate it as much as we did.
Mr. Cox, you have any comments or
I
questions?
just appreciate, I've been a regular at the King Public Library for many years, since I used to take my kids to story time, and now that I have a couple of nieces that are almost old enough, I'll be coming back until I get some local grandkids. But anyway, but yeah, I use their services regular. I'm up there almost every week, so I really appreciate everything. And I just was telling some people about all the puzzles you can check out. And they said, well, how do I know they have all their pieces? I was like, I don't know. That's just, you're just going to have to take a chance.
Pieces catalog,
But I thought that might be something this winter I need to start doing, checking out those puzzles. So anyway, okay. I really appreciate y'all.
All right, thanks, Commissioner Chandler.
I just want to say I appreciate your enthusiasm, and you're a vital part of what quality of life is about here in Stokes County, and that's vital to our community and our strength. And just keep up the good work. Thank you,
Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thank you, sir. Just want to thank all of you, Joan, Christine, Lisa. And as I think back. Joan and I have worked together on the Stokes Partnership for Children several years, but with the library, knowledge is power, and you can gain so much knowledge by going to your local library, and they have gone so far, leaps and bounds as far as helping people that doesn't know how to use technology. They have been great investigators and teaching others about how to use technology of the future. And they're just wonderful, you know, and Gretchen, I didn't forget you. You come to all our meetings, so I held you for last because I see you at almost all the meetings. And that's good that you can keep up with the community going on. So to all four of you, Joan and Gretchen, Lisa and Christine, thanks for all you do. You provide a wonderful service to our community, and I just want to say thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Commissioner Mendenhall. I would echo Brad's comments about the enthusiasm. I think you're about the most enthusiastic people that ever come up here and talk to us. So I'm sure that translates to a lot of good things within the library for the kids, especially, and the young kids. I have a couple questions. On the bookmobile, do y'all know how many miles it has on it, the truck?
It's 80,000 and something.
Is it still okay, still doing good and everything?
Yep. It's been at the shop. It's been at the shop a couple times, but just for little things, like the light not working or the phone charger plug not working, just little stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
We appreciate the county taking such good care of it, too.
Yeah, how does it go on a set route? Is that how it operates?
You wanna call that? Amy has a schedule, it's posted on our website, but, every, once a month, she goes everywhere in the county, like on the first Thursday, she might be in Francisco. The fourth Tuesday, she might be in King. We try to accommodate everybody, that we can, and, is that about, pretty much the deal? Yeah.
You said you keep getting new
Yeah.
people,
Yeah,
so it's growing.
So some of our bookmobile patrons, you know, they're elderly, they can't get out. And Amy's the only person they see for days at a time. And it's just like, I imagine it's like Santa Claus coming, just to have that contact, that human contact.
Okay, great.
Mr. Morris,
Mhm.
thank you so much for asking about bookmobile and for the county support for it too. As you all know, there's a great service in this county, and I know there are other surrounding counties that wish they had one too. So.
Okay, good. Well, thank you all for coming today. The next item on our agenda is our discussion agenda, and I think the tax office agenda is the first item under discussion. Richard,
Good afternoon.
how you doing?
I probably won't be as enthusiastic as they are. I'll do my best. First item, as always, is our tax collection monthly status report. If you'll notice, there's actually two reports because I think the last meeting I promised that percentage would be real high. And if you look at December, we're only at 70.89. But the first 2 weeks of January, the first week of January, you can see that went up from 70.89 to 95.77 mainly because of Duke Energy paying their taxes. So right now, about halfway through the month, we're about 95.77. So we're on track to make budget for sure. Next item is our quarterly discovery and garnishment report. Shows that we've discovered 433 accounts that a total value of a little over $3.1 million. That should generate about $26,733 in revenue. We processed 440 garnishments with a levy of almost $107,000. The next item is our quarterly EMS report. It shows that we've billed 2,366 transports, charged out a little over $1.5 million, and collected $1,043,000 so far for this fiscal year. And you also see that we have about $281,000 of contractual write-off obligations that we have to write off. Next item is our Datamax, our interstate collections report. It shows that they've collected about $10,328 over the last quarter for us. Moving along to real and personal releases less than 100, we had 4 accounts that total $168.72. Refunds less than 100, we have 1 account that's $89.96. Releases more than 100 accounts for $1,400, $87.59. And the last one is refunds more than 100. That's 3 accounts that total $1,750.51. And then the last item that I have is the 2023 Board of Equalization review date request. We're requesting Monday, April the 6th, Monday, April the 3rd at 6 p.m. and Monday, April the 17th at 2 p.m. And the statute says we can't meet before the first Monday in April, and we have to meet before the first Monday in May. So
What was that second date?
April the 17th at 2 p.m. But these are just suggestions. I think I checked with Amber, and she said that she knew your calendar was free that day, but feel free to adjust that or modify that anyway. And that's all I have. I just requested the real personal releases and refunds more than 100, and the 2023 Board of Equalization review date request to be moved to the February 13th consent agenda.
Okay, does anybody on the board have questions for Richard? You guys want to go ahead and agree to those dates today?
That should be fun.
I'm good with them. I'm good. You be good with those, Commissioner Mendenhall, the 3rd and the 17th, I think, of April?
Yes, I think I am. I can double check after the meeting and I'll let you know tomorrow for sure, but I believe I am. And as always, Richard, did we get our big check from Duke Power?
Yes, sir, we did.
Thank you. I always like to hear you say yes, sir, on that one because we know what that means for the county. So, Richard, thanks for everything you do.
Keith, you good with those dates, you think?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, that's all. I don't have anything, Richard. That's a good report. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item on our agenda is recreational vehicle usage and temporary stay, and Kim Overstreet and Woody Jones are going to be presenting for that. This item.
Good afternoon.
I got to get it up on my screen here.
So, we've been having numerous of complaints about not being able to put an RV on the property when they're building or setting up a modular. So the only thing in the zoning ordinance that we have at the time is mobile homes. They can fully set up a mobile home and use it while they're constructing, or say for instance reconstructing something that's a house that's burned. So I know some of y'all have been getting the complaints also. So we went through the ordinance and we had talked to David about it before, I think Woody had. And the ordinance never stated that you couldn't have an RV for any kind of usage. But David's comment was that that means you can't because it's not in there. Okay, so Woody put together the recreation vehicle usage within the Stokes zoning jurisdiction is what we're going to title it. I'm not sure if yours has a title or not. And I put together a recreational vehicle RV temporary stay while you're building and reconstructing a non-habitable home. So I didn't know if y'all had time to look over anything. Based on what we looked at what some of the other counties was doing. Surrey County actually is in the process of putting theirs together at this point. Rockingham already has something in place. And from what I understand, Forsyth is doing it, but they're doing it on a board basis. They have a board that approves it on a basis when they come in and ask for it. Do y'all have any questions?
Yeah, you want to go first, Brad?
So you have to, what would be the process with somebody that, say they were building a house and they wanted to put an RV on the property they own? Is there a process they have to go through y'all first? What would that be?
They would actually go through environmental health first, and they would have to have a permanent well and a permanent septic tank. And that would show us proof, because the only thing we do with that is when the RV's hooked up, we check that is an inspection that our office does, is check out the connection.
And the reason for that is so that if they do decide they want to do this, is that we know where their sewer's going to. It's just not being
Right.
pumped out on the ground. They're not going to be able to bring water in every 2 or 3 days. They're going to have to have a well that's working. And part of the fee that we're asking for there covers the inspections for those things. It's not going to work for everybody. Some people still may want to use a mobile home. Some people may not want to do anything. But there's been a lot of people asking for it, which is, I guess, why some of the other counties have already done it. And if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. You know, we don't.
Sure.
We don't want people just setting stuff, you know, and that's a whole other thing that I've got here. I've got numerous complaints around the county. People are setting up RVs and staying in them, living in them, doing it, no water, no septic. Anything's not connected to them. And in the current ordinance, you can't find where it says you can or cannot do it. I would like it defined as what you have in front of you, or at least something very similar once it goes to the county attorney, if approved by you guys. That I've got something, you know, that I can show these people how you can't do it, because this is as clear as it can be right here. You just can't do it. Because that's the first thing they ask is, where's it at? I can't show it to them. But it's not in the permitted uses, which makes it where you can't do it, but it would be a whole lot better if you can say, hey, this is it. You can't do it. You just can't do it. The only two things that we would like is if they do this temporary stay building a house, or we can approve that for 18 months. And if there's some reason that they can't get all their stuff together, you know, there's a shortage of this, or there's something back, you know, it happens all the time. Sheetrock a few years ago, you were a year out getting it. They can get another 6 months.
Yeah, that's been a problem.
Extended onto that, but 2 years is all you're going to get. And that's all you get with a mobile home if you do that currently. So, you know, I think that would be a good thing, and for the price that we're asking is less than they're going to have to pay for 1 month to put this thing in an RV park, and that covers them for 18 months. You know, if approved by you guys. But as far as the ones, which is a little separate issue here, the ones that are just going up all around the county, it's kind of hard for me to enforce it when I don't have something in black and white. I know you as law enforcement, you normally look for something that you can't do this. That's what I'm asking for. If you guys are wanting me to enforce this the way it needs to be enforced, I need something saying you can't do it. So it's two separate things we're presenting to you on 2 different pieces of paper. But we've got a lot of interest in the RV temporary stay, which has been passed by other counties around us. I think that one county had brought up that they had let them do it without putting in a septic tank, and they were allowed to just pump it. That's not really an option. Any of you who RV know you got about 3 days, and your tanks are full, and you got to do something with it. What are most of them going to do? They're just going to dump it out, you know, or try.
And I also talked to environmental health about it, and they wanted finals.
Yeah.
They wanted them to be able to final the septic and final the well before the RV is hooked up to it.
I mean, I see the importance of, especially when it comes to the sewage, the septic tank to hooking up. I guess I'm just trying to understand the urgency in if they put a RV on their property, then they hook up to a well, they hook up to a septic tank. So then, you know, let's say they want to build a house, but then you put a time limit on the house, right? The most is what, 2 years?
2 years max.
The temporary stay, though, is they have to have a building permit in place for a house. They can't just come in and get an RV temporary stay without their house being burnt and they're getting ready to reconstruct, or they're just, it's an old house and they're gonna gut the whole house and remodel it, or, like I said, a new single-family dwelling.
At this point, they're going to have thousands into this thing, because they're going to have a full septic system. They're going to have the well up. You know, the average house in the county is probably somewhere around $300,000. They got to get the permits for that. Plus, they're going to have to pay for this permit.
And right now, we're having people do wells and septics and going ahead and hooking them up illegally without any permission from environmental health or from our department.
Yeah, I think that,
It's against our
yeah,
zoning ordinance at the time.
I think, I think you're right on about that. So, and I guess maybe this is a little different, but, because we have a lot of people that they'll buy land. I mean, that's what I did. I bought land in 2006, started out in a tent, come up here and stay on the weekends when I could get off call, and then ended up putting a camper. I would take the camper home with me, and just, to be honest with you, it's a pain in the butt after a while, especially if I was having to take 2 trailers or something. So I got to the point to where I just left it up there.
You just lucky you didn't have neighbors to complain. That's what we did.
Well, that's what I started to say. I think there's a lot already doing it.
They're already
Yeah.
doing it, and their septic's going who knows where.
Yeah.
There's no septic systems.
But once they're doing it and it gets reported to y'all and y'all check into it and y'all confront them or whatever you do, I mean, it sounds like it's really hard to get them to not do it. They're just continuing to do it, and you don't have a lot of teeth in anything to,
That's why I'm asking for this to be placed into ordinance, so that I'll have a little more bite. So, what I do is go out and speak with them and try to get them to comply. If they're not gonna comply, then we'll send out a letter, be served by the sheriff's office, gives them 30 days to comply. At the end of that, if they don't comply, and I have several now on this and other things that are getting ready to go to the county attorney, but at the end of that 30 days, if they're not showing any sign of complying, at that point, we're gonna turn it over to the county attorney. We'll just end up having to see them in court.
do you have any that you had to go that far with?
Not yet. I just started this job 3 months ago or so. I've taken it over from some people that were really good people, but no law enforcement background or any way of dealing with the problem.
But we've had some that should have already.
Right, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I was able to get one move that I think you were off not too long ago, and I don't mind doing that, but I think if I'm gonna make one move,
Yeah.
what's good for one is good for all, in my opinion.
How long did it take you to build your house?
About 15 years. On a cop salary.
Well, I could see it taking longer than 2 years if you're trying to do a lot of the work yourself or something like that.
We actually have some permits back to 2018 now that I think one just got completed, that they were doing the work themselves as they get the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that may not be the best situation for this plan. It may not work for everybody, but the ones who, they're gonna know up front, hey, we have this long in order to get this done, so if this is not feasible, maybe this is not good for me.
And the mobile home that we have in the ordinance that you can set up is only for 2 years. At the moment, if they do, and we've had a few do that, set up the mobile home, but you have to buy the mobile home, and you have to set it
a lot
up
of expense,
permanently.
yeah.
It's a permanently set up mobile home, and that they have to stay in. They have 30 days to unhook it after they get a CO on their house.
And I know maybe I'm expanding a little bit, but to me, if it's, I guess, I'll just speak for myself. So if you would approach me, and said, hey, you leave your camper up here while you go back, home to make money so I can spend it up here building my roads and doing this and doing this and doing that, saying, hey, you got to pull the camper off. My first comment would be to you that, I drive just on the main highways to get up here. And once I enter Stokes County until I get to my place off 89, I see houses that are completely unsafe with caved in roofs. I see, and I'm not an inspection guy, but when I'm driving down the road, when coming in, I can see for sure they're not hooked up to any kind of septic system.
Which is, to stop you for a second, I have other things I'd like to discuss with you guys on another day.
Well,
Just for that, and a few other things, but we're limited on time, so we're limited.
Well, I guess what and I'm not, I mean, to be honest with you, I'll probably ask the chair, because I know we got some more information that come in from some people sending emails and stuff. They live right now outside of Stokes County, so it's too far for them to travel in, and it's a very lengthy email. So
That's the one that asked for an RV to begin with. Am I wrong about that, Shannon?
I'm not exactly sure what the original
I'm pretty sure his first
request.
email, if you're talking about Ron.
His email's very confusing. I don't know what he's asking for.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the first email that was sent was wanting to know why they had talked to David and they couldn't put an RV on the property.
But then the email today
And now it's
says,
different. I know.
Seems like an RV wouldn't work or for the situation is what it sounds like now, but I think you're right. I
he
think the
mentioned
first
a
one
mobile
was-
home in the first email I got, and
Yes,
I'm not,
but they couldn't do an RV.
but then he says it's not, having two, like a mobile home and a house, and like that's two resident, they couldn't afford to do that, so I don't know what he's asking for, to be honest with you. He don't even sound like, in the last email that Shannon got, that it says something about a primitive camp, a pre-made structure,
It lists something in here like some structures that may be options: tiny homes, container homes, barn dominiums, shed conversions, etc.
We don't allow the containers. We don't allow, we allow stick-built tiny homes, and we do allow park mobiles if they're HUD labeled.
I know. I recently got an email.
That's, other
well, we allow barn dominiums. I mean,
Yeah, we
that's,
do.
that's,
With engineer drawings, yes.
right.
Because they don't meet the North Carolina code.
Right.
I received an email from Rockingham County the other day from their county manager asking what our ordinances were on like container homes or container. They're starting to see those pop up in Rockingham outside of agricultural use. And that's kind of becoming a big thing that people make those into homes.
Like metal
If you're
containers.
going to do a barn dominium,
I think we'll start getting more emails about that.
to me, if you're going to
too.
do a barn dominium, it's going to take time to do it. You got to have somewhere to stay. You're not going to be able to stay in it.
Right.
Anyway.
If you have questions?
No, I'm all for what y'all present because I was on the planning board for 2 or 3 years. We got citizens right now that y'all getting ready to move off because their house is about 6 or 8 months. So I think we need to do something about that. And he's living there every day, and I'm all for the temporary RVs while they're building a home. I just don't see the problem with it, as long as we got a structure where we're charging them for the permits, and we make sure it ain't, they're not there for the rest of their lives.
We'll cut your power.
Well, they
Right.
get 2
2
years.
years, we're gonna cut your power.
The first 18 months, they get that, and then they'll get an additional, they can apply for additional, talk to the planning director for an additional 6 months extension if they can't. Windows ain't coming in, I think that's getting a little better than what it was. But
Yeah, I like what you put together.
Supply was hard to get.
Because you got people with RVs. Some people are actually building their homes and living in an RV.
I went to one this morning.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an issue.
And the sad thing was, we discussed this a lot, but never did do anything about it when I was on the planning board. So,
I think David was wanting to do
he
something.
was working on it, but other things overwhelmed him, and it always went to the back burner. So I think we need to
Yeah,
do
we got to
something,
do something. I
not
think
drag it out.
this is definitely a start and something we need to put in place.
Mr. Mendenhall, you have comments and questions on this?
No, I don't, Rick. I can certainly understand the concern of wanting to get something that gives them more teeth to put into it when they do this, and that I can understand the idea that they need a certain policy that says it one way or the other. So I'm good right now, just and what the group wants to do.
Okay. You got any other questions, Brad? Comments? My questions would be, first of all, I want to make sure I understand the two documents. The first thing you gave us is a change to the ordinance that you're recommending, right? Just to define it so that you have something to go by. And then the second one was it actually policy, I guess you'd call it, or
It's an amendment to.
amendment,
to the,
okay.
To the zoning ordinance,
Let me-
allowing the temporary stay.
Okay, let me look at it right quick.
But I would recommend that Ty probably look over these documents.
Yeah, that was my
before
next question.
We actually finalized them and, added them to the zoning.
Yeah, that was my next question. Are we ready to give them the time to look at? I mean, they look pretty good to me with what you
Can we
got.
give them the time, put a freeze on this, but so nobody gets kicked off their land with the RV that's trying to get a house done?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
Do what now?
Yeah, this shouldn't take, but
Anybody you got building a house now with the RV, you don't go out there and say, you don't cut the power off and say you got to
He
leave.
tagged one today.
Yeah, so we need to,
And that's fine.
till we get our act together, we need to put a freeze on it. Am I using the right word?
It's actually harder than you think to turn power off.
Yeah, it takes.
Oh,
And when
okay.
it's winter time, you're not gonna pretty much.
Right, you gotta watch
try to
what you're
do it
doing.
because somebody freezes to death.
What's the best way we can do
The
this?
power company won't want to, you know.
Well, I'll go ahead and start my review, and I would recommend, just staying in the action since this is under consideration.
Okay,
And you intend to adopt this or something very similar. So I would not take any more action until you do that.
we need to vote on that today, or just a consensus not to do it? Okay. Okay, would it be the consensus that we don't move anybody until we get this reconciled with the ordinance? We should be able to do it in 2 or 3 weeks, I would think. Maybe by the next meeting, we'll plan on voting on it for action.
I don't know I don't know if I'd have to make I might be saying this wrong out of order, but if we're gonna do this, I wanna kind of tie that in to what I was saying earlier too. If we're gonna do this to an RV that's hooked into a sewer and has a well and put a real strict time limit on someone building a house, I want to know what we're going to do in the big picture instead of just identifying one small problem, because I don't think there's a bigger issue out of there. And just with when you talk about the mobile homes, they bring in mobile homes and build the house. I can, quite a few places where those mobile homes never go nowhere.
Well, the ones that were not moved were probably under the old ordinance where you could have 2 single-family dwellings on the same tract. You can no longer do that. They have 30 days from when we give them their certificate of occupation to remove that.
Yeah, we do have some that's grandfathered in that may have 2 mobile homes on it. And we do have some accessory mobile homes. If you have 10 acres or more, you're allowed to have an accessory mobile home on the property, and you pay a fee every 2 years for that. It was used, it used to be used like we had migrant workers. You have people come in to help farm and stuff. So that's always kept that in, because we have some now that we keep up with.
Those were previous grandfathered in. There's nothing that lets them do that now.
What's I'm saying, if maybe we can just kind of spend some time.
Yeah, I agree.
If we're gonna do the RVs, I'd also like to look at the other stuff that's probably just as bad or worse than what this immediate
That's a
action
separate
is for
meeting.
this.
Yeah, that's a good idea,
Probably
Brad.
all needs to be looked at again and
Yes.
probably compared to what some other counties are doing too.
Right.
And just revamp everything if we're going to.
Just do it right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I am too. And what we'll do is make a separate agenda item for that.
Okay.
Because I'm interested in specifically in campgrounds and other places you can bring RVs or not bring them. I'll give you an example. These agritourism shows we have where people bring in equipment and demonstrate it, and a lot of those people come with a camper, and they want to stay in that camper with their equipment while they're there demonstrating for 2 or 3 days.
For a weekend show or something.
Yeah, like for weekends, self-contained. So I think, I'm talking about like a self-contained camper, not one that's gonna dump anything, but for a limited period of time. But we need to address all those issues, I think, with RVs and have clear policy that you can enforce.
Right, because if it goes into too many days, you know, your holding tanks are not gonna hold it so
Mhm.
much. And I think it would be up to whoever's property they're staying on to find some way for them to get rid of the sewage. If this thing's going into a week, I know what you're getting at, you know, most campers are not gonna hold that.
Yeah, most of them don't stay that long anyways.
Yeah, most of these are like weekend shows and things.
You know, that's something that could be added if that's what you guys wanted. But the problem that I'm seeing on my end is, the people that are moving these things, you're the exception, you're not the rule. These people are moving them in, they're just living in them. And it's turning into.
And we can't do that for a whole lot of
Well,
reasons,
Yeah, and,
you know, that won't
Right.
work.
And I understand what you did, but you were the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Most of them are putting these things in, and then it's a problem. I mean, there's several throughout the county right now.
Well, we're in a housing crisis, basically. You see what Guilford's doing with those pallet homes temporarily and stuff. So, I mean, you know, people are trying to get out of the cities. They're trying to move into rural areas. I think they try to do things because they think, well, I can get out here in the country and nobody will pay attention to what I'm doing. But you still got neighbors and you still got people who, you know, we got to have rules and we got to have things that you can implement and follow, and like you say, just the absence of the rule doesn't, or just the absence of it being listed like you've got right now, and you try to enforce it, and they're like, well, show me where.
And I would be one
Yeah.
of those people. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say show it to me.
Yeah, everybody's.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
hard, it's just not in there saying that you can,
Right.
it's not in there saying that you can't.
Well, we'll clear that up.
Okay, well, consensus is we won't run anybody off till we get this sorted out. We'll have the attorney review it, and hopefully maybe be ready to take action at the
Y'all are
next
doing a
meeting
good job.
on it.
Yeah, we appreciate everything, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is a Board of Health appointment.
So there is currently a vacancy on the Board of Health for a registered nurse position. It was posted on the website and advertised starting on January 4th, so just a little over 2 weeks, which gives plenty of time. But only one application was received during this period
Okay.
from Miss Beverly Essick, who submitted both of her application and resume. And I have spoken with the Board of Health, and they think that should be a great asset.
Okay, so then I need to open the floor for further nominations.
Make a motion that we close nominations.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we need a poll now for
That'll be the next meeting. If you
the
just move it
next
to
meeting.
action, please.
Okay, so just move it
next
to action for next meeting. Okay, the next one is a planning board appointment.
So there's also a vacancy on the planning board for the Danbury Township position. It was posted on the website and advertised starting on December 12th, so for a while, and only one application was received during this period from Jeffrey Whitaker. He does live in that Danbury Township, and both his application and resume are attached for viewing and were provided.
Okay, I'll open the floor for further nominations.
I move we make a motion to close nominations.
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye. Aye. We'll also move this to action for the next one. It triggers a thought I had in our last agenda item that I forgot to ask. I don't guess the planning board has to do anything with this thing we're doing on the RVs, do they, Ty? Do we need them?
Kim
I mean,
didn't
they've
seem to
discussed
think
it.
so.
They've discussed it before.
If they addressed it, I think that's.
Okay. I don't want to leave them out because that we want to make sure they're allowed to do what they're supposed to do. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the criminal record check policy. And you want to start talking about that one, Brad?
Yeah. So, really, over the past month, as different issues have kind of been either brought to my attention or have come up with the board, I think that with the I think we're at the very, very least, we're very vague in any kind of personnel rules or organizational countywide regulations or ordinances on how we conduct record checks, not so much on entry-level employment, but as you go through promotions, there's nothing in writing that says any type of record check should be completed. And then, so we've kind of went back and forth and back and forth with the idea that some believe that, well, they've worked here for so many years or so long, so we know them, so there's no reason to run another record check. And I, on the other hand, I've experienced it. I come from a big city to where people that you know in government, and they go and they get promoted, or you hire somebody from the outside that comes in as a department director. And believe it or not, even in this day and age with all the social media that goes on, but I know in the area I come from, a lot of places like in Myrtle Beach and stuff, people get jammed up. They make poor decisions sometimes, and not just in Myrtle Beach. I'm just giving examples of that type of
Redneck Riviera.
of you're at the beach and you want to have fun, and sometimes the fun carries over too much. It may not be, it may not be a felony, and it could even be, because in South Carolina, you can get written on a city ordinance violation, just basically a ticket. And then, of course, you even have the more standard situation to where you had a good time and you're trying to get back to your hotel and you get stopped at a checkpoint and you get arrested for DWI. And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to get back to here unless, you slip up and tell somebody, and then somebody here calls HR or something and says, hey, by the way, so-and-so. So I think that it's good business sense. I mean, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but we're in the business of setting the right policy and try to protect the interest of the county, including, the tax money, as much as we can. People make mistakes, but I just think we just need to make sure that if they don't admit to those mistakes when they're getting promoted or getting hired from the outside, then that's another issue in itself. But that's kind of the history.
Okay, Commissioner Cox.
So what I want to say about this one thing is that I did not know until I was under the assumption that the background checks that we did when we hired people covered more than just Stokes County or the county they live in. So I guess if we're hiring somebody from Forsyth, they get a background check that's up to the person who's being hired to get the background check. And it would be from the county they reside in, I'm assuming. So I didn't know that that's how that worked. And what I think we need to do is change that policy to include a background check that not only checks this county, but the whole state, and probably the whole United States, honestly, because things can happen. I mean, I'm in Indiana every 6 or 8 weeks, so I could get arrested in Indiana, I got plenty of traffic violations between here and there, let's just say, and sometimes I have the professional courage. My son's a police officer.
See, you're one of those people that tell on yourself.
There's no shame in my game. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, and after 9 hours in the car, it's just like, okay. I'm just saying. It's just, that's a minor traffic violation. But I'm just saying, people do travel out of the state. And I mean, things can happen when they're on vacation or just in general. I don't know. I think that it should be more than just the county that they're residing in. And I'm fine with people being, when they're promoted, to do another one. If it's a higher level, if you're entry level here, but you're taking a job as a supervisor or something, then maybe do another. I'm fine with that. Also, I think there are services you can sign up for that somehow, once they've done a background check and you're in their system, if something else comes up, it flags it and sends it to the HR. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what the school system has, some system to that effect. Because I know those background checks we did at the school system were more thorough and were the whole state, if not the whole United States. I don't know, and I'd like to hear Ty's opinion on it too, what he thinks.
I think it's good business practice to do that because, we're a very mobile society and people travel, all over the country.
I mean, all you gotta do is watch one of them crime shows for Dateline and people go across county lines and state lines all the time.
And it might not make any difference in your decision, but I think you need to have all the facts before you, if you're
Exactly. I mean, there were,
somebody.
yeah.
And of course, you would ask them to disclose, in advance anything, and if they misrepresented that, you'd want to know that too.
That's true. That's true. And I'm assuming that I don't know how other counties do it. It would be interesting to know, but I think the county would have to pay for these background checks. I don't think you can expect the person you're hiring to do it. So.
Well, as far as a current employee.
Right.
I would. I think it's fine if a prospective employee, if you want to.
What kind of money we talking?
Require them to pay that.
Do you know what kind of money?
For a nationwide check, I don't know.
To do a service?
Annually?
To do a service, but not per person.
Okay.
It would be worth it.
Again, I've been retired since 2015, and I'll double check this, but I know what we did, we had we would go to our records and we fill out a form, and all of the city government used this. For part of the background check, it would check NCIC and DCI, and you just put a code on there, what it's for, that it's not. So when the state does audits and stuff like that, they know it's for employment. But I'll double check to make sure they haven't changed that regulation to run those type of checks. But if it's still, still good to go, I think maybe we could talk to the sheriff.
Well, why don't we get HR to give us some feedback, maybe of some services and the cost, and check with the sheriff too to see what they could provide and how in depth and how much it would cost. I mean, just to give us some options.
Keith, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is this is above my pay grade, but I think it needs to be updated to something more current. But we don't need to jump into it until we find out the cost.
Yeah. Commissioner Mendenhall, your thoughts, comments?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this happens to be one that is in my, everything isn't, but this is one that's in my wheelhouse, so I'm going to sort of just give a little background quickly. I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but I certainly agree with the comments from Commissioner Chandler, Commissioner Cox, and our attorney, and I can tell you up front, when you work in a school system with 19 schools, and when I was superintendent, we had over 7,000 students. Now, when you put a teacher or an administrator in charge of children, the parents want to know that when they go to school that morning that they're going to be safe and that they're going to come home and nothing unusual is going to happen. So our school system, and Sonia alluded, she was pretty much on it, but I can verify what we did exactly to the T. We had a system that we purchased and paid on each year. It was a yearly annual payment to use that system. And that system, when we got ready to hire somebody and we put their name in that system would let us know the next day everything on that person. I mean, if they went through a stoplight that was about ready to turn red and it was yellow, you could find it. I mean, it was unbelievable. And with the kids today, I mean, I hate to say this, but the way the educational system is gee, there's so many people that they're catching that are harassing young people or sexually molesting them in the school system. But this system that we had in the school system was ran through the HR department. Melissa Jessup had the system on her computer, and so did her two assistants. And we never did a final approval until the background check came through good. And that was for the whole United States. That covered every state in the union. And I don't know the cost of it, but I just think what we have right now is weak. It's a very weak system, and it could cost us. I'm telling you, this is one where I know that if somebody's done something and you're not able to find it out and you hire them and it comes back to haunt you, one of the first things they're going to ask you is, well, did you do a background check? How thorough a background check did you do? And I don't want the Stokes County county commissioners on every TV station in the area for something going wrong where our background check faltered. So I think one of the options, I heard talking to the sheriff's department about options, I think one option is very simple. You could call Dr. Rice or Melissa Jessup at the education department and see what system they use, because like I say, they run that name, and the next day you want to make an offer to that person, what you usually say is, you'll be the person that we're going to nominate dependent upon your background check. And then the background check, if it comes through clean, we're ready to go. But we lost some people because some things showed up on some people in the background check that we would have never guessed. So I dealt with that one a lot, so that one's sort of up on my alley there. So I agree that we need to strengthen this background check, and I'd like to look at it if the sheriff's department or whoever cannot help us. I think we need to look into purchasing a system, and I don't think it's that expensive. And when you put that name in for that job, it's going to show up the next day if everything's good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Mendenhall. So I'll summarize. We want a system that does a national check. We've got to sort out how we'll pay for that and who will pay, because our current employment system requires the person applying for the job to pay for a local check, I think. So I guess we need to figure out how that fits into the process, or if we keep doing that. I think it's really important on the disclosure for when you're doing an application for a job that you are required to disclose this. And if it's ever found that you did not disclose it, then you're probably not going to continue to work here. So I guess what we need is like a draft policy from HR that incorporates all these changes into it, and we'll go from there. You agree with that?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just put this back on the agenda as soon as Jamie and Gail come up with something for us to look at.
Yeah.
Is that good?
I would just tell them, like Mr. Mendenhall said, check with the school system and see what kind of subscription they have and to how much it costs. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, I think it's working for them. But also, like Commissioner Chandler said, the Sheriff's Department, be good to know what they could provide and at what cost too. So, thank you.
All righty. Next item on our agenda is Planning and Zoning Director recommendation, and I'll turn it over to Shannon for that.
So as you know, recently our Planning and Zoning Director, David Sutterth, retired, and we did application period, both internal and external for that position, and we received some good applicants for that. Those interviews were conducted, and after those interviews were conducted, the panel was a 4-member panel, including staff here. Also, we reached out to Rockingham County, and their Planning and Community Development Director sat on our panel as well for us as an outside opinion with somebody with a lot of expertise in that position. He had been a county manager, also a planning director, so he had hired the position and worked the position. So he was a really valuable asset on the panel, I thought. After those were completed, the panel has selected Eric Nance, who is currently working with the city of Sanford and has 16 years of experience working in that department. We felt like he was the best choice for Stokes County at this time for that department. So formally, we have to have your approval for that position according to statute. So we're just here to ask for your vote on that as far as hiring Mr. Nance. If you approve this position, his employment date start could be February the 13th, as he does have to relocate here. He does have some ties to Stokes County and did live here long ago, but has moved away quite a bit ago and lives in, of course, in Sanford now. So we'd just like to, any questions or comments on that, or just an idea of that. And if you're in favor of that, if we could certainly get that voted on today so we can contact him and he can go ahead and start that process.
I'll move it to action today.
Please, because your next meeting is not until that time, so we can.
Okay, comments, questions from the board?
I'm fine with that.
Good. Good. You good, Commissioner Mendenhall?
I'm good.
I'm good as well, so we'll move that to action today.
Perfect, thank you.
In the future, can I just ask a favor?
Sure.
When you write your memorandum for your recommendation for your hire, can you also put the starting salary, what you've come to terms with the employee, what that salary is?
Absolutely.
I think that's just one more area of, we stay up front, we're very open, and I think that the public needs to know what it costs and where their money is going, and it matches who we're hiring with the experience level.
Yes,
Thank you.
Good idea. Wished I thought of that. Also, we'll do a press release like we did on the last two for him real quick, like here, and get it out, right?
Absolutely.
As well.
We'll do that.
Okay, good. We'll vote on that when we get to action then. The next item is the public records request policy. Shannon, you want to start with that?
Yeah, I'll start with that. So we had some discussion on this at a past meeting and just talked about putting a policy together. As stated about the criminal background check, we didn't invent the wheel on this. We reached out to some other counties, looked at their websites, saw what people were doing. Surprisingly, a number of them don't have a policy either, and are working on creating one as well. We did find a couple that we liked and sort of pulled some information and our own information on those and put something together for your review. We also came up, used a sort of a 1-2 sheet document where they could make the request on it, where we could actually keep track of it better as far as where the document's coming into, where the request is made. I feel like the policy is pretty straightforward, but we certainly hope you've had time to look over it and make any suggestions or additions to it that you do or don't like for us to move forward and bring you something back and hopefully get that in place soon so we can add it to the website.
I looked over
Okay.
I thought it looked good, like the draft policy and what you'd found. I don't know if Ty's had a chance to look over it or not, but I thought it was pretty thorough.
And it seems like in the past, a lot of what's covered in this, we've already been doing, but it'll just be in a formal policy. People will understand it. And the main thing is to always just acknowledge you've received the request, and we've got that covered in there. That'll be done within a
I like
timely
that.
amount, and that we're working on it. So, which is something that I felt like we were doing in our office already, but I think that sometimes was not happening otherwise. And that way we have a uniform way that it's going to be, people are going to know what they have to do.
Keith, you have questions on it?
No, I'm good.
Brad, you?
Just, I like the policy, that the way it's shaped and everything. And also, like this, you also include, what the statute says and what it includes and what it doesn't. But on the back end, when we look at the customer service part, I just want to make sure that we train our personnel of what the policy is, because it gives a bad perception when, if you call somebody or give somebody an email and then they don't seem to know we have a policy, or they don't really seem to know what to do with it. And then I think it just gives a bad perception. And then second is that as we record, and we historically will know what kind of questions are being asked, and we identify those trends, and then we kind of get ahead of the curve a little. And so what we do is we just automatically push it out. So it's sitting out there, and then, we don't have to worry about and scramble about trying to, to come around with the same repetition. Now, I think what a lot of places find that do this is that it's the same topic keeps coming up, but just the numbers change. So in other words, just the data that we would have to freshen up. But if you freshen it up every year of certain public records requests that we get, it's there, and all you have to do is you just see something. It was printed off the screen, and that's just one less headache that we have. Thank you.
Commissioner Mendenhall, your thoughts?
Yeah, I read over it with the 14-day deal and also the 2 hours. That was the only question I had. I think it said that a person could come in for 2 hours, and once they had made their request to the proper custodian situation, and if they didn't come up and check, I think it was 14 days or 2 weeks, they had to renew and do a new one. I like transparency. I think the more transparent you are, the better off you're going to be in the long run. So my only question would be, is everybody good with 2 hours? Does it need to be a little longer, or is 2 hours long enough for all the rest of the commissioners?
The 2 hour policy is only for if somebody is coming to inspect public records in person, meaning that it would be hard for us to tie up somebody for more than 2 hours. And usually, a public records inspection, you're going to be able to give them what they need and get that way before 2 hours. The other point of it, they would usually just be taking the record with them in whichever format they choose, whether that be copies or a disk or a flash drive. But the 2 hour part was only specifically for that in person, if they were putting somebody with them to go over the records.
Yes.
I'm good with
I
that.
understand that.
Okay.
Ms. Shannon, I understood that was an in-person thing, and I just wanted to make sure everybody felt comfortable. 2 hours in person was long enough. That's all.
I'm good with that. Okay, the only question I have, Shannon, have you got it in front of you there? On section 3, there's the last two sentences. I'm going to make sure I understand what they mean. One of them says,
Section 3.
yeah, one of that starts out, requests for public information which do not identify actual records or documents are not included within the definition of public records. What exactly does that sentence mean?
Well, so like we don't. I'm trying to think of how I can explain it simply. we're not required to create a record if it doesn't exist.
Oh, if that's
So-
what it's about, I
So
understand.
that's partially of that. Also, some things are not public records, and that there is some definition of that too, of things like personnel records, things like that, so they wouldn't have access to those things. It's kind of just tying those two items together of, if it doesn't exist, we don't have an obligation to create it.
Okay.
And if,
You
if
said
it's
that
not-
somewhere else in there too.
We did too. And if they, and if also, if it's not technically defined as a public record, it's not a public record.
Okay, so
And there's
that's,
also the portion on here for the person requesting that they have the option to provide their name when they request the record, but it is also optional. They don't have to provide their name. They can just give us how they want us to get that record back to them.
okay. In the sentence after that, when it says a discussion or request for an explanation is not included within the definition of public records. A discussion or request for an explanation. What is
They don't
that?
have to tell us why they're asking
Right.
for it.
A discussion or request for an explanation.
Yeah, that's how we interpret that to mean,
Yeah.
because we don't have to have a reason why they're requesting it. We just have to provide it if we have it and if it's a public record.
They don't have to tell us why they're requesting it.
Okay,
Because I think in the
Discussion
past, some
request
people have
for-
asked for reasons why somebody wanted a record, and you just can't do that.
That's not good.
so it's saying you don't require an explanation from them as to why they want the record.
Right.
Okay, I didn't exactly get that out of that sentence.
We can change that to be
You
more
just
clear.
clarify it a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
Then have Ty review this.
yeah.
So we'll just do
I
that.
I wanted you all to take a look at it before we
Yeah,
send it
that's
to him
fine. I'm good. I thought the policy looks very comprehensive to me. I just had those two things that were a little confusing, but
okay,
I like it, so
perfect.
Ty to review it and bring it back for approval.
We'll get Ty to check over it, clarify those two things in section 3, and then just put it back on the action agenda, if that's okay with you
Yep.
for next time. Okay. Perfect.
Okay, then our last item on the discussion agenda is the performance appraisals. And I want to talk about this specific form before the other commissioners get going on it. I think there's a consensus, and you can tell me if I'm not right, that we would like to, I know Brad's talked about this a good bit already, but that we have everybody gets a performance evaluation, an annual performance evaluation in the county. For obvious reasons, like if you want to do merit pay or people deserve to know how they're doing, and that interface is required, needs to be happening between their leaders and the folks they work for. So a performance evaluation is a good way to keep those communication channels open and to evaluate people's performance for obvious reasons. We have in the county, I think, maybe the state departments like Health DSS, I think maybe the state requires them already to do performance appraisals. So I don't think it necessarily has to be a standard performance appraisal across every employee, as long as we're getting a performance appraisal. But this form I've got on here today is not the performance appraisal form. This is a form that I actually created when I was county manager, and we implemented it for a while. But since it didn't have we weren't able to tie any merit pay or anything to it, it was became an administrative burden that really wasn't given the return on investment for the amount of time it was taken to do it. But if we're going to look at merit pay and other things in the future, I agree that we need a standard annual performance evaluation for everybody, and I think we're going to have to probably do that if the board agrees with me on that. And what this form is, it's a form that can be used to initiate that process at the beginning of the annual review period. And for those that aren't looking at it, I'll just touch on how it works. It's got the name and the rater information at the top of the form of the person being rated and who's rating them. A little description of what they do in their job. And then it's got a block where you put in your major performance objectives for the rating period. And the block also allows for a continuation sheet. You probably can't fit them all in that small block. But and then the last block on the form it gives the person that's going to be receiving the rating an opportunity to fill in that block and explain how they accomplished all of the objectives that were agreed to at the beginning of the rating period. And so the only other kind of interesting aspect of the form is it has a block up here toward the top where you have to sign off an initial that at the 6-month point during the annual performance period, you had a face-to-face discussion with the employee on what had been agreed to at the beginning of the rating period and how the employee is doing in accomplishing those objectives. So this form, if we're going to do an annual performance rating and get it going, I'd like to get the board's opinion on getting this form out. And it would apply to whatever type of performance evaluation people are receiving, because this is kind of a generic form, because no matter what type of form you use for performance appraisals, your performance objectives are the core part of what's going to go on that performance evaluation. So, so that's the explanation of the form that was in your packet. We can modify it if you see a need to or whatever. I think we need to do something like this to get that face-to-face discussion between supervisors and their employees on what the expectations are for the upcoming performance period, and to keep the communication going so that everybody understands what's expected of them and how well they're doing throughout the year. So with that, Mendenhall, you want to go first?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm sorry, Rick, you cut off. Did you want me to go ahead and go first?
Yeah, if you don't have any comments on the form or the performance appraisal process, and whether we need it or not or whatever. So
yeah, I think any governmental system certainly needs an annual performance evaluation. The employees do. It's different in every setting. I know in the school setting, teachers that taught the first 3 years, they were called ILTs, initially licensed teachers, and we had to do 3 evaluations per year on the ILTs, and then once they got through to the 4th year, it backed off to 1 a year, but I'm certainly in favor of coming up and maybe, I know the governmental evaluation system would be different from a school system, so I'm in agreement with you, Rick, that the person probably needs to have their objectives, their professional major objectives listed for the year. But probably could also see, I don't know if Shannon or Amber's checked on any surrounding counties on their performance. They may have made that statement. My phone has been cutting off a little bit here lately, but I'm in favor of it. I just want to make sure that we come up with one that will be thorough and yet fair. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
okay, thanks, Ronnie. Commissioner Chandler, you're next.
Yeah, I agree. We need some form of performance evaluation, and I like the cover form here that you provided. And there's a lot of reasons why you need a performance evaluation, and I do think we need to look at merit pay. But even if we didn't do merit pay, I would still be saying that we need a performance evaluation system. It's twofold. One, it helps you identify low performers in your organization. And if the only reason that they're going to try hard is because they think it's just going to be a quick monetary gain, well, that may be human, but it's not. That makes it short-sighted. So what happens the next year after that, if the money's just not there, or it gets to the point that they want more money to be incentivized, I think you want an employee that strives to do his or her best every day they come to work. The second thing of what it does is helps you identify people you want to promote. You know, we talk about professional development. This will also help the employee to where when we talk about professional development and getting training and getting mentoring, this will be documentation for, or if it didn't happen. So what it does, it also puts a little bit more oomph to the supervisor or the department director to make sure that employee is in line with whatever kind of training, whatever field they're in, to ensure professional development is done. And again, the incentive is to the employee. If you want to go into supervision, then this is a good way. It's documented, and it gives you a path forward. That's all I have.
Commissioner Wood.
You don't want to hear my version. I've had more reviews than I want to talk about and evaluations. Number one, I think the department heads you need to get their input on this form, what they would like to see. Number two, on the goals and promoting I sat in a meeting where anybody that was the best employee in the world was held back because he didn't want to go any further. But he was very, very good at what he did. So I think you need to get the input on what they want out of this position and in the future also listed, and what inside training and education they need to get there.
I'm sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
You comments or questions? You may talk some more.
You go ahead. And
yeah, one thing I would.
Water.
Yeah, and while she's getting water, this is like I said, designed to be the front end of the period, so that everybody understands what's expected of them. I have another form I'll present later when we need it that we could use as a standard evaluation form, and it's. I'll tell you where I got it. I actually kind of derived it from the military. In the Army, they use a similar form to this and an evaluation form, and it's designed to identify the top 5% of the performers. Those top 5% are the ones who then become, some portion of them become general officers. And so they put a lot of effort into being able to identify who is exceeding expectations and who's just along for the ride, basically. So these forms could be, and that's where it would come in good for merit pay. That top 5% could be merit pay receivers instead of general officers, which we don't have any of those here in the county. But that's kind of the intent behind the system is to just let people know where they stand, identify high performers versus medium versus low performers, and take the appropriate actions for each one of them. Go ahead now.
Okay, I think I can talk now. So I'm fine with developing some system of evaluation of all employees. I think an annual performance evaluation is a good idea. I'm kind of like what Commissioner Wood said. You know, it would be good to get feedback from the department heads on the form, and if it's what they would like to see, or if there's something additional that they think should be on there, that would probably be a good idea before we finalize what it would look like. And, you know, I think that the merit pay is the only really way to incentivize people to want to keep excelling and stuff. Because, I mean, if there's no reward for that, then are they going to continue to grow professionally, or are they just going to be like, I'm okay to be right here because I'm not going to get anything out of getting up here, you know, unless it's to be the supervisor. And they know that these forms would be looked at if they were ever wanting to move up the chain. job-wise, if there's no merit pay. I guess there's still that incentive. So either way, I think it's a good idea
Okay.
to look at doing it. So
These things can also be used become part of your personnel record. Like, for instance, if you apply for a job, even if it's outside the
Right,
county, you
somewhere
can take
else.
it to another organization and say, here's how I did while I was there.
yeah, that's
Be
true.
validated and everything. So I agree with both of you guys about having HR and the department heads look at this too, and we can tweak it or whatever. But I think if we're going to have an annual performance, we need to get on with it because the
What is the timeline on this?
period's underway. What?
What's the timeline? Is this something you're going to kick in effect for 24, or are you going to do it this year?
Would you do July 1 to July 1, or would you do like our budget runs, or would you do?
I'd leave. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other.
I don't either.
But I wouldn't put it off too long. Kind of need to get on with it, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
What do you think, Shannon, as far as how it should run?
Typically, when there were performance evaluations being done, they were completed with the employees on around their anniversary dates. Like, whatever time they started in their position would be when you would do their, evaluation. That way it's on, in a timely way of when they started their job.
Speaking from experience again, that sounds good in theory. It might be better because we don't have as many employees, but we did that for a while, and it was a nightmare, especially if you caught the hire date at a certain time to where it was pay raise time, where the money was going into your check, what you were getting in merit pay. And then we started getting grievances saying, hey, wait a minute, I want back pay. And it just turned into a mess. So normally what happens is the first cycle, it's your anniversary, and then you got to cycle everybody in together, because I'll just be honest with you, Shannon, don't make your job a nightmare, don't make HR's job a nightmare.
Well, it already kind of does, because that's how we do the longevities have always been done that way, and they do those based on their date driven by the dates they begin, and they have to do all sorts of prorations and odd things in the system.
I'll let you all decide how you want to do it.
If you do them all at the same time, though, ain't that going to put a burden on everybody?
Well, speaking from a supervision level, it's better to get everything over with and done with, because things change too as you go through time with different issues, and it's just, anyway. But I'm not telling you how, I don't want to tell you how to do it. Y'all do, I just think we need a performance evaluation. Y'all figure, y'all be the ones doing the work.
Are your thoughts on what you're talking about now as far as performance evaluations and merit pay in place of longevity or in concert with longevities that we currently do? Because that would also be a little bit confusing, because if you do longevities based on the hire date, then you do this based at a different time. I'm just wanting to kind of know what your thought process is on that.
I don't know. I hadn't thought that through yet on when the timing of merit pay versus longevity and stuff.
Well, let me ask, so longevity pay, is all county employees still get longevity pay? Normally, because I know, because I worked with the Mercer Group as my organization's key thing, a lot of the stuff when we went into the pay plan and everything, that they grandfathered in the employees that currently had longevity pay, but that was part of the money we used to help fund the better pay plan. Was after a certain hire date, there was no more longevity. But everybody gets it here, okay.
Yeah, it's 2%, and the only people that would not get it would be if they max out over their pay scale, like they've been here for over 30 years. And once they get to that point, it doesn't go any higher than that. That pay scale ends there. So, yeah, but other than that, it's 2%. That's what's included now in the longevity schedule.
Well, based on that theory, I don't know why we would take the longevity away just to give a merit thing, because then that'll dig into, if you go on the theory of, well, why should I'll just keep my longevity pay and not have to do anything.
Yeah. I think, why don't we just talk about merit pay separately from this? Just, you guys look at the form and the process, and you and HR come up with like a recommendation of how and when we get the system started.
Okay.
So that
I just
so
wanted
that
to
it's
know
not
from
just
my
hanging
own,
out
as we
there.
started to look at it, if we were still talking about leaving longevity pay in just like it is, and then also looking at merit pay as a separate.
I think you would, yeah. But I've been in an organization where I guess we kind of did what Brad was saying is we just took the total payroll amount and took a percent or something off the top of it from everybody, and then made that the merit pay pool. And then the go-getters went after that. That was without even increasing the total pay budget. That's one way of doing it. That wouldn't be desired by some, but
And then
that's one way of doing it. If you can't afford to raise the overall pay,
also,
that's reshuffling basically.
also too, just to remind Shannon that, I think she was due a performance evaluation, in November, December. I don't think that was done, right?
Right.
So we probably need to start doing something to evaluate Shannon. Obviously, there's going to be some difficulties in that, but because unless you all sit down and gave objectives and standards that what you expected of her for this year, but we do.
This forum does not exist at this point.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying, and it would be a different form anyway. I think, she's the CEO of our organization, but anyway, we need not to forget about that. I mean, we got to. I think with the manager, we need to prioritize something because we're already clicking in, here another calendar year. So I think it's important. It's not fair to her, and it's not fair to us if she needs to know what her expectations are.
Yeah, and I think everybody else does too. So that's why I'm not for really delaying this too long. At least this point, this is not difficult to fill out this form. I mean, the performance evaluation is a little more complicated, a little more time consuming. But sitting down and taking a few minutes to go through and figure out what your objectives are, and negotiating that's not a super time consuming process.
That's a very simple form.
If y'all just factor that in as you look at the process.
We just got to keep it on the front burner, and we got to move on it.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay, that concludes our discussion agenda, and we have one thing on the action agenda, right? And that is the Planning and Zoning Director recommendation. I get a motion to approve Mr. Nance as our new planning director.
To approve Mr. Nance as the
Second.
planner.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passes unanimously, and look forward to meeting him very soon. I think he'll be here.
February 13th.
Is that our next meeting date?
We'll be here next week.
Okay, good. Make sure he comes to the meeting so we can talk to him. Any further business we need to conduct?
Can I just do one thing
Yeah,
really
sure.
fast? It's sort of at an odd time, but I just want to make sure I don't not tell you. I got a message during the meeting, and I wanted to just share with everybody in the room and online and you all that Janet Lewis, Janet that worked for DSS for 44 years and is 67 years old, and Janet just recently retired after some illness, and Janet has passed away today. And I just got a message from Stacy about that, and she wanted me to share it with you all, and knew you'd want to know. And it's a very short illness for Janet, and Janet was a wonderful lady who worked here for a long, long time.
I concur with that 100% for those that know her. Absolutely. We wish our condolences to her family.
Yes, so that's it.
Thank you for telling us.
Yeah.
Any other business we need to conduct? Motion to adjourn then.
Closed session.
Oh, we gotta go close session. Almost got out of the way.
You ready to go?
Yeah, could you read the rationale for going into closed session?
To consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3, and to consider the initial employment or appointment of an individual to any office or position other than a vacancy in the Board of County Commissioners or any other public body, or to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, and fitness of any public officer or employee other than a member of the Board of Commissioners or of some other public body pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
Okay, get a motion to enter closed session.
Make a motion that we enter closed session.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're in closed session.
I'm just,
You need to get them just to move that down here. I used to sit there.
get Glenn to do it.
I got a list going.
Okay, get a motion to exit, or to, what are we
Motion
going to
to
adjourn? Oh, go into open session now, or adjourn? We're in open session, right? Get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.